Hey,
Hi.
how are you?
Oh, this is good. Listen, please tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do to make money.
Okay, my name is Melanie Whittaker. I'm from England, but I now live in sunny Spain. And the way that I make money is I do marketing and public relations. And I predominantly do that for female coaches and female service providers.
Wow, you're I think the third guest from Spain.
There you go.
Yeah, this month.
I love
In Spain,
it.
Spain is dear to my heart. I know Spain better than I know the United States.
I love Spain. I'm not actually on Spanish mainland. I'm on a Spanish island,
Right.
which is just off the coast of Africa. It's part of the Canary Islands. It's a tropical island. It'd be like going to say Mexico for you guys.
I had a meeting, I had a gathering with a bunch of friends, and we had an awesome time in the Canary Islands years ago, and it was beautiful. My wife talks
It,
about it
yeah.
still to this day. She talks about how beautiful that was.
They are paradise. And I laugh at this time of year. I always say there's like an invisible line. So everything below the line is amazing and it's heaven and hot weather. And then above the line at this time of year when it's winter, it's hell.
Mm.
There's snow and they're cold and they're miserable.
Well, we've got a great connection. You look good. Everything looks good. We sound good. I appreciate you supporting the Fighting Network, which is just a talk about like
Yeah,
stuff that we deal with. And for people that listen in, maybe they get a little encouragement or motivation. I think you're number 21 or
yeah.
episode. So it's always been fun to talk to people. You never know where the next person is going to be from, Melanie.
Yeah.
You have a signature, or you have a like a logo that's you are your marketing. And that's kind of
Mm,
like your signature thought. You
mm.
are your marketing. Can you talk to us?
I'll tell you how that came about. Let me tell you how it came about. I used to do front of house for restaurants out here, so getting people to come in, have food, have drinks. And like anything that's customer facing and the pressure's on, because if the restaurant isn't full, they're not making money. And some of the way people conduct themselves in doing that is just disgusting, just awful. I used to cringe. I used to be like, can't believe they've done that. And one day I saw a guy do something. And I was just like, oh my God. And that was what I said in my head. You are your marketing. Now, I'm not saying that to be superior and put him down. At the end of the day, we're all fighting for survival when you're in a foreign country. Um, but it's how you do things. Here's the thing, and this is what I tell all my clients. Marketing is a beast. There's so many things you can do from funnels and ads and all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, you are the one. You are the one bringing your energy. You are the one bringing your experience and the way you see the world and your skill set and your flair, your personality. Like it's you. And when
Yeah,
people master that, they don't worry about the competition.
yeah. You can't really be afraid. You can't be afraid of talking to people.
No,
And I think this is a big thing. A lot of people have this fear of talking to people, and they have a fear of people. They have a fear of socializing, and it's a
they
strange.
do.
I really never had a problem with it. I forced myself through it. It was always kind of there. Like it's a little bit there now, for example. And, I'm just doing the best I can to talk about something that could help others. And I think we all have this little bit of fear in us. But for some people, it ruins them.
Yeah.
how did you get through,
People,
how did you get through fear? Did you have to deal with anything? What are your
oh yeah.
ways that you
Yeah,
deal?
my fear, I would say I mean, I've gone through so many things, you know. The biggest fear that I have ever experienced, but we can all say it, was 2020. And as I say, I live on a tropical island, and these islands survive off tourism. Well, we didn't have tourists for 6 months. And nobody obviously knew when it was going to end. Nobody knew what the outcome was going to be. That was really, look, I had a wobble. I am my own person, and I have always had the attitude if the dream comes to an end, then I have to go back to England. That was always the scenario. In that moment, I was no longer in control of my life. The governments were calling the shots, and that was very unnerving. So I got through that. Then, when we reopen the islands, and then you're dealing with all the red tape that comes with that, and social distancing, and trying to be normal in a very abnormal world, I brought what I was doing, filling restaurants, into Facebook groups. And we have so many groups for our islands. It's insane.
That's awesome.
And what was happening with that is, whereas normally what you're saying, I would be cautious and maybe not stand out so much, I was like, this is do or die. And so I either make this work and keep the dream going, or I become a wallflower and will have to go back. And I don't want to go. I want to live the life I'm living here and be happy. And so I was putting myself out there, and I was doing things that I wouldn't normally do. Alongside that, I was getting flack because some of the people who did the jobs that I was doing were jealous. Oh, look at you. Who does she think she is? Going on Facebook, thinks she's special. And I just used to say, no, I don't think I'm special. Because guess what? You've got Facebook too, and you can do this. I'm not special. And I had to overcome the fear of being visible. I had to overcome the fear of what may tourists think of me. Then I had to overcome workers giving me crap because, oh, look at her. And it was a lot, as well as the mental anguish that everyone was going through after 2020. So it was a lot. And it just so happened at that time, because I've always been following a lot of coaches on Facebook. And there's a specific coach who reached out to me, and she just said, I've been watching you. And she knew my past, she knew my journey, she knew I'd moved from England to there. And she was like, I see your tenacity, but I see it in such a good way, to the point that she knew I wouldn't feel rejected if I hear the word no, if I'm trying to picture and things like that. And also the way I was conducting myself, I had a very professional but easy approach, not trying to bash you over the head.
Yeah, the entrepreneurs today, it seems like if you just put entrepreneur on your social page, you think you're an entrepreneur. And it's crazy, you just put that name on there and you think it's going places. And in
Yeah.
most cases, it never goes anywhere. And the big deal is because people can't get out of their own way. They can't get to step one, step two. And it's that fear thing. And I appreciate you sharing, because I felt that fear too. I felt that from you saying that, when the whole shutdown in the world was like stopped. That was wild.
It
Wow.
was awful, awful.
Wow. Doesn't get more challenging than that. So the good news
Yeah.
is it'll never get more challenging than that, And we've got Facebook groups. How great, seriously, how great are Facebook groups if you really
Oh, it's amazing.
embrace them?
Literally, you can connect with anyone in the world on any app. Of course, you can. Um, it's interesting. You just made me think of something which I'd never thought of it in that context before. So before the world shut down, I was a social butterfly, so front of house of restaurants and going out and having fun and chatting to the locals and chatting to tourists and just loving life. And never inside my apartment. The only time I was actually inside was to eat and sleep. That was it. And then all of a sudden, we're trapped in our houses because President Sanchez was not playing. He was like, "You're in." And the police were everywhere. They weren't playing around. They were watching everyone day and night, 24/7. Um, and so to go from being outdoors 20, all of the time, where I'm only actually inside to sleep, to then being stuck in an apartment and I can't go out except to walk a dog or go and buy food. For someone who is bubbly and energetic and loving life on a tropical island, to have that you're in a prison. You're literally in a prison. I would literally walk one of the dogs as late as possible at night. This is how horrific it was. I would stay up as late as possible because I was used to that anyway, working in the kind of work that I did. We never went to bed early. So I would stay awake as long as possible so that I could get up late because the later I get up, the less life I have to live. How awful is that? That's what I was thinking. So I would go and walk the dog very late at night, walking down my street, and there'd be a police car just driving on by. And this could be at 2, 3 in the morning. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah, yeah. It was like a bad horror flick. It really was.
Yeah,
But you
it
took
screwed
that
me.
energy, you just started talking to the camera. You started talking in the text. Your fingers did the talking. It's funny how we adapted. I did the same thing. You get forced to do that. And now look at here we are. I mean, this video call is amazing that we can even do this.
I
People take
know,
that for granted. This is amazing. You
I
know,
know,
the
I
tool,
know.
the tools today, for a new entrepreneur to get started, they certainly have to let go of fear. They have to have a plan. They have to be teachable. How important is it to be teachable? Like you need someone that you're going to copy at least. At least you have somebody, a role model that you think, you know what, I want to be like that. Was that part of your gig?
Yeah, I would say to someone who's only starting out, look, you're going to need this no matter how far you go in life, but you need to be fluid because not everything is going to work out the way you want it to.
Yep.
And we can be our worst enemy because we can have the blinkers on and we want it to go that direction when actually you can have the same result, but it might mean going in that direction. But we're so blinkered that we think we've hit a brick wall and you haven't. It's just you need to look over there. So be fluid, but also be humble. Be humble and be teachable. There are many people that love to come online and act that they're amazing. And, the one thing that gets me down, and I talk about this a lot in the online space, and I'm glad it's dying out, is people portraying that they've got the perfect life. And that's the biggest load of crock known to man. If you're trying to tell me right here, right now, that you have the perfect life and the world is in the mess it's in, then you really need to assess
Yeah.
why you need to lead with that. That to
Yeah.
me, that's an insecurity complex.
Yeah.
And it's trying to dangle the carrot and say, look at me, and you can have all this. When actually, and it's interesting. So with me just saying that, when I work with my clients, a lot of them are worried to talk about times in their life that weren't great. And they're like, but what if people think bad of me because that happened to me? Or what if I start to lose followers because I say that? Now, I would never tell a client to do something they don't want to do, right? But what I say to them is, you've got to be real, you've got to be relatable. And the more you show perfection, people are getting wise to that now.
Yeah.
They're just getting wise. And
Yeah.
so, in answer to what you're saying, be fluid, be open minded,
Mm-hmm.
be teachable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, listen to people, whether that's people who are a few steps ahead of you or someone that you aspire to be, or maybe you've taken coaching or you've got a mentor or whatever. Like, don't be a brat. Like, you're not a teenager anymore where you're going to turn to your mum and go, I know that. Like, you don't know everything. So don't pretend that you do. And when you don't know something, reach out for help. I'm going to hold my hand up. I am the worst person for doing that. And I scream at myself. But honestly, ask for help. Ask for it.
When I was a teenager, I don't know how my mother put up with me, especially when I hit 18 years old. Forget about it. My whole life changed. And then at 19, I'm just about, I'm on my way to be a dad. I mean, I really made a big mess of things, but it all worked out for good. Thank God.
Oh,
It all worked out for good. You know, not everyone's cut out to go into business for themselves because you do have to
mm,
wash yourself around. I think that's a big challenge for people. You do have to face yourself in the mirror and say, when you suck at something, you have to say, I suck at this. But you can get better. That's the big but. I think a lot of people throw in the towel when they don't get it going right away because they suck at something and they just like give up. It's no, no, you're going to get
mm.
better. Isn't that so
Yeah.
important to know?
Do you know, I want to address that. And if you've come from a corporate background, which most people have, that can have a huge detriment on how you start to show up. So at first you're all excited and you're like, oh, I'm starting a business and I can be myself and I can do this and that and the other. And then once that starts to wear off, you're like, what do I do? And when you're in corporate, you're put in a box. There's very few companies that applaud forward thinking. They just want you to do your job. Don't be causing problems. Don't be giving us your opinions. Just do the job, go home, and get your paycheck. Um, and so when you can suddenly just have ideas pop and run with it, here's the thing in the corporate arena, people can feel paralyzed to do something because they're worried that it could go wrong. And then if it goes wrong, they may not get the promotion that they want, or they may not get a pay rise, or it could be down to their assessment, when they sit down and they're having like their assessment with their boss. And it paralyzes people with fear. And so when you're in the online space and you can do whatever you want to do, it's interesting because when I do PR with my clients, I always tell them this. There is nowhere to hide with public relations. You can hide behind a social media post, you can hide behind an email, but when you're going to do public relations, that's huge. You're stepping forward, you're telling your story, and you're being a real person. And that takes a lot out of you. And so if you've come from a corporate arena, that will be something that you will battle with at the start because you'll be like, oh, can I do that? Would that be allowed? Because you're just so used to being in a box.
It's interesting because I think when you have that feeling of being in a box because you're working for someone else and you struggle with this feeling of being in a box, that's a sure sign that you're probably a good entrepreneur.
Mm.
I think there's something there. It's in you. Let's put it that way. It's in you. Because you got to get out of that box, and now you can really you can come up with ideas. You can say, okay, I'm going to go do this. I like that, and you're making all the decisions, and you're in control of things. But not everybody can do that.
Mm.
Some people do need to be told what to do, when to do it, and to have a boss looking over their shoulder. But you and I aren't like that.
No, not at all.
We're not like that. I've been like this my whole life. I'm 64. I've been at this since the beginning of time for me. I mean, so
Love it.
to me, we're very much alike. What's interesting, and I still deal with this, and I know you do too. It's because it's the most important part of my day is to stay consistent. Isn't that
Mm.
so important? Even still today, because I remember early on, like my mentor, the people helping would say, you got to stay consistent at this stuff, Jack. It doesn't matter if you like it. It doesn't matter how you feel. You got to stay consistent with these things. How important is that consistency for people if they're going to be an entrepreneur?
Very important because consistency leads to the know, like, and trust. An example that I always give to my clients is if you struggle to be consistent, your competition isn't struggling. And so
Very good.
here's the deal. If you're showing up maybe 3 times a week, but then your competition is showing up at least five, Monday to Friday, could possibly do seven, um, then guess who they're going to trust? And if you're haphazard and because here's the thing, when someone is thinking of hiring someone, they start to do due diligence. So, of course, they're checking out your website and your social media, but then they're looking at how, as you've said, consistent you are you sporadic? Like if I was to send an email, how long is it going to take for that
Yeah,
email to be answered? And if
yeah,
that email isn't answered fairly quickly, I'm not saying you've got to answer it immediately. I'm not being that ridiculous. But if it takes a good few days for you to get back to someone, then already there's question marks there because they're like, do they want the business or not? And so being consistent shows that you care about what you do, but then it instills confidence into a potential client that you've got them before they've even got to the starting point. Because now
yeah.
they're like, yeah, this person, I see them show up every day. But here's the thing, you also have to give value because you could be showing up consistently every single
Right.
day, but
Yep.
it's nothing. So there has to be a balance to that. And I know a lot of people hit burnout because they're trying to do so much content. And so what I would, if you've got a lot of responsibilities, I'm not a mum, but if you're a mum, it's not that cut and dry. You've got kids and a family to look after. So what I would say to anyone is be consistent, and everyone's version of consistent is different due to their life situation. So if you're a mom and you've got kids and you are telling yourself as you're listening to this right now, oh, I can only do like 4 or 5 days, then my attitude is do those 4 and 5 days, but bring value to the table rather than you do 7 days and maybe one of those 7 days actually hits the point home.
Yeah.
So look at your life circumstances, be as consistent as you can be, which fits your life, because everyone's life is different. And always remember, in fact, I put a thread out, it was either this week or last week, which said, when you're creating content, don't just do it because you love it. Think to yourself, do my clients love this?
Right.
Are my clients getting value from reading or watching this content or listening to the content? Because it's not about you, it's about them. So when you do your content, if you're struggling and you're thinking, well, how do I know it's value? Think to yourself every time you're putting out content, does this answer a question? Is this solving a problem? Is this explaining something? Because here's the deal, when something is really simple for you, we forget that not everybody thinks that way. And so that I speak to so many people, and the minute I say something, they're like, oh, I'd never thought of it like that. Or, oh my God, that's obvious. And I'm like, yeah, because to me it's obvious because it's what I do, but I know to a lot of people it's not. So when you do your content, meet people where they're at because not everyone thinks the way that you do.
Are you using AI as an assistant? Are you playing with AI right
I'm
now?
not. This is really funny, and I would never bash anyone that does. I know it gets very controversial, this topic, and I don't, and there's a reason why I don't. I suppose it's because you could say I'm old school. My brain, if you could listen to it, is like a brass band in there. I even put that out in a post today. Like, I have a million thoughts in my head at any given time. And every time these thoughts are popping out, I put them in my phone. And I know we all have notes on our phone, and I literally have enough content in there. If I'm having a blank day and I'm like, what do I talk about today? I just go in my notes and off I go. Right. And so I'm not going to bash anyone that does use it. But the reason that I don't use it is I have enough thoughts in my head. I understand why people do for inspiration, or they're like, what's your opinion on blah, 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 blah. But here's where it gets wrong and leads into plagiarism if you're not careful. Because if you are being out there and saying you're an expert, but all your content is AI generated, then you're not an expert. You're just very good at prompting a robot, right? And here's the thing. At the end of the day, that prompt will generate what it generates, but here's the deal. It didn't live that experience because it's a robot. You did. You were in that moment. So if you're writing a social media post and you happen to talk about something that happened to you when you were younger, maybe, the robot wasn't there. You were. So you knew what you could smell on that day at that time, what you were hearing, what was being said. If it was traumatic, you know about what happened there, like, or if it was happy or sad, you were there as a human being. So that's what you need to do. You need to draw this out in your content. But here's another thing, and this is another reason why I don't use it. And I tell this to all my clients. So newspapers and magazines have equipment which they will run your article through to see if it was AI generated. And so what I say to my clients is, I'm never going to tell you what to do. You're a grown ass person. I'm not your mother. But what I am going to say to you is, if you are going to be submitting an article and want it to be published, I am going to tell you now, do not generate it from AI. You could go and ask for a title and gain some inspiration, and away you go with the title, but do not submit an article which was written by AI, because you'll be blacklisted. And, they're just going to go, you say you're an expert, but this is actually from AI.
Yeah, and it's happening at a massive scale.
Yeah.
It's happening at a massive, massive scale. And no, I appreciate your viewpoints. I see the AI or ChatGPT as, for me, for example, I like talking to it, asking its questions, having dialogue about it, and sharing things in my life, and it gets to know who you are. And then, I mean, what I'm saying is play with it in a way where it becomes like your good friend. You have this artificial intelligence, because the guy does, or the girl does, whoever she is, however you name it, can research for you and help you with things. Like, I never was good in English. If I had to take an examination in school and it was in English, or do an oral book report, I wasn't going to school that day because my grammar was horrible. I mean, all that stuff. And I don't have to ask my wife anymore how to spell the easy words. That's a good thing. Because if you read my writing years ago, after you read my stuff, you wouldn't be able to write for a week. You'd be all
Oh, how funny.
yeah. But anyway, no, it's all, we're living in changing times, and companies are adapting. All companies are pulling AI into their customer service and stuff like that. And it's going to be amazing to watch how this changes over the next.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I love change. And I think, well, I know it's why I love marketing and PR so much, because marketing evolves just the way humans evolve, just the way that, here's something else I tell all my clients. So when they start to work with me, what we do is I create their pitch. And that pitch isn't just pitching the business, it's pitching them as a person. And so in that pitch is a story of who they are, because we live in the online space. It's our life. We're just doing it all the time. And we just think that people know who we are. So obviously when I'm pitching my clients, the people I'm pitching to don't know them. And so the pitch has to sell them as an individual. But yeah, I welcome change. And what I say to all my clients is this: apps, there'll always be a new app. There's always going to be the latest trend, right? And I never worry about that because my story and my client stories will stand the test of time. And what's beautiful about your story is no one can take that away from you. You lived it. So it isn't a competition. It's not saying my story is better than your story. Like, it's not about that. It's
Yeah.
about standing in your truth, standing in your power, and owning what you do.
Yeah, we're going to be tested with all this stuff, when we think about it, Melanie, because people don't, they would like to go back to the day before we had all this stuff. They're saying things like, gee, things were so easy back then. Can't we just go back to the way it used to be? And, it's like news alert. Things aren't going back. They're not going back.
No.
They're going to even progress even more. So it's going to be, there's going to be much, much more change. But that's a test we all have to pass. Some people, when they get these types of challenges and they fall apart at the seams and they stop their growing. They have an attitude that they take home with them,
Mm,
and they're just really upset with life because they have a problem with, system testing. They go to work every day and things have changed, and it's like, oh my gosh, everything's changed. Can't we go back to the way it used to be? And it's a big challenge for a lot of people. They're being tested by technologies. Being able to run a business from home today, you have to understand stuff, or at least like what I do. I have a couple assistants that they're, I have a little media group and the three of us, and
mm,
I couldn't do it without them because they're like the tech,
mm,
you know.
mm.
But if I didn't do that, if I flunked the test about the system, I would just stay the same and not. I believe I can do a big thing over the next like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times more business over the next 10 years by adapting with the new world we live in versus trying to
Mm.
consistently do things the old way, which I'm not going to do. I don't need to. I can just say, forget it. I actually have my two assistants because I pay them because it motivates me to keep working. I'm paying someone. I got to keep going. you know, so we all do things to motivate ourselves in different ways. But yeah, so right now it's 10 o'clock over there or something? Is it 6 hours?
It's 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
5 hours? Yeah, Spain. Oh gosh, the Canary Islands. It's like Spain. I think about Spain. It's like my second home, and unfortunately, I
Oh,
I I owe a visit big time, and I feel so bad that I haven't been there in such a long time. But
I love the Spanish. The Spanish are just so much fun. They know what they're doing. They're just there's a reason why the words rhyme, fiesta and siesta, because if they're not partying, they're having a nap. So,
yeah, yeah.
literally
And
their
I
life.
was I have some bullfighter friends from over there, and I have some great interesting people that I met when I expanded my business over there years ago. I've been in the smoothie business forever, but it's been the greatest thing I've ever done because I love distribution. I love my smoothies. How important is it to be like a product of your product? I mean, like I eat
Oh,
my
yeah.
smoothies all the time. You know, people being like, if someone's going to choose a business, they say, okay, I'm going to go into business. I got to go into business, make some extra money. What am I going to do? I think it's important to find a product that you can believe in and you can use yourself,
Mm,
right?
absolutely. If you don't, at the end of the day, when it comes to selling, whether it's a service or a product, if you do not believe in it, you will struggle to sell it. 100%. Even the most advanced person who's gone through loads of training, if your heart isn't in it, it's interesting. I can see a complete and utter stranger on Facebook, Instagram, whatever the app may be, don't know them, don't know the business that they have until I happen to find one of their posts as I'm scrolling through my feed. And I can tell from the way a post is written whether they actually believe what they've written. We all know that a lot of people, they're just churning stuff out to keep the algorithm happy. And what I say to my clients is, you got to believe in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because if you're just going to put any old rubbish up to just slap up a post, people feel it. They energetically feel that you just don't believe in what you're doing.
Yeah. And what do they call that now today? They call it syndrome. What's that deal? The syndrome they call it when you're imposter syndrome.
Oh, imposter syndrome. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never had that problem. I never had that problem. But that's a good thing. I could have quit a million times, though, not a million, but I could have quit a lot, especially in the beginning. And, talking to people like you that are business people, that are successful entrepreneurs, we learn from each other. If a person was to start a business today, what would be like the number one, number two thing that you would tell them to really focus on to make it through the challenging times? What would they have to do to make it in a business as an entrepreneur?
Well, just going back to what I just said a few moments ago, you have to really believe in what you're doing. It's like me moving to another country. I had to know I wanted to be here, and I knew I wanted to be here. But if there was any fragment of doubt, when you're in a foreign country and you're having a bad day, that's like a bad day times 100 from when you're living in your home country. So the first sign of trouble, you're going to be on that flight going back. And it's the same with a business. If you don't believe in what you are doing and why you were doing it, you will give up on the first few goes of it being a bit crappy. Because as much as people love to flaunt the perfect life, that's just not realistic. And, life is gonna life. There's gonna be situations that throw you a curveball or something that you just can't avoid, and you're just gonna have to deal with that, right? And if you're not able to emotionally deal with that,
Yep.
as well as run a business, you'll struggle. We're all human. There are going to be times where you may have to hit pause for a day or so to just get over what you're dealing with. But if you're not solid, I call it solid as an oak tree, because life is going to be like storms. The winds are going to come, the rains are going to come. If you don't feel 100% convinced about what you are doing, you won't last.
Yep.
You just won't last.
Yep. I thank God I had a partner when I started. We went at it together, that kind of a thing. We said, you know what? Let's do this, right? That was huge. I would have to say, honestly, I probably would not have made it if I didn't find just one person to do the thing with. You know what I mean? It was like going to
Yeah,
the gym. It's like going to the gym with a friend every day is a lot easier than going by yourself.
yeah, by yourself, exactly.
I'd go into business with you, Melanie. We'd have a good because we're similar. Melanie, we would lock hands and whatever we do, we'd probably do pretty good at it. But that's the thing about entrepreneurship. If you got it and you find someone else to do it with, you're probably going to make it. You're probably going to do it, especially if you're both like all in. You know what I mean? That attitude is so important.
There's something else I want to say which carries on from what I've said, and it all intertwines. And you can say this about life, let alone a business, but let's face it, when you do run a business, it becomes your life. It's part of you. Um, you need to build emotional resilience. And I'm going to give an example. So the more you're online, and obviously my clients do PR, so that's really amping up the visibility. And I deal with women, and women, we're different to men. We worry about so many things, whether it's body image, or what if someone cancels me, or what if someone, leaves a nasty comment on my post, and all this. You have to realize, of course, the human need is that we want to be liked. But what you have to realize when you're running a business is, of course, you want to be liked, but it's not about pleasing everyone, because you can't do that. Personalities might clash, whatever. You have to have emotional resilience that no matter how it's perceived, whether it's by someone in person looking at you, or someone's watching you on your website or your social media and they happen to not like it, You've got to have the emotional resilience to keep going, because if you're trying to be liked by everyone and someone might say something and it kind of knocks you a little bit, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a bit harsh. Did they really need to say that?" People are going to say stuff. You cannot say what people are going to think, say, and do. We have no control over that. But as the famous saying goes, we have control over how we react. And that is a muscle that you are going to train the more you do business, which is emotional resilience. And you'll learn that the more you do it.
Oh, yes, it's so important. That is so important. Because if not, not only is it going to ruin your business, it's going to ruin your life. It's going to ruin
Mm-hmm.
your family life. You're going to bring it home because you're going to have a bad attitude. And so you have to really, truly just let it go. Wow, that's a good one.
Precisely.
That's huge. That's something that the new person doesn't think about coming into it, getting started. That's
It's
going to be
so
huge.
true. And the thing is, as well, because it's your business, it's like a baby. And so it means everything to you. And you want good people saying good things, but there's going to be times when it's not received well, right? Or as we know in the online space, some idiot decides that they're just going to ruin your day because that's what they do. And you need to have the emotional resilience to just go, I'm going to get on with my day. Because you don't need to get into arguments with people. You don't need to defend who you are and what you do and why you do it. And you don't need to please Sally down the road and, oh my goodness, I'm meeting up with the family. What will the family think of me? Put all of that aside and focus on you, your business, and your clients. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, bravo. Because that whole people thing, that people testing and system testing, those things will screw you up. People will mess with your minds, especially today with
Mm-hmm.
social media. It's like you got to be mentally tough. But you know what's amazing? The biggest test is our own stinking thinking, like our own
Oh, yeah,
attachment to ourselves. That's the big one. That's the one you're going to really pay
totally.
attention to, that jerk inside of us that's trying to mess us up. Isn't that crazy?
I know. I know. And it's like that famous thing, isn't it? Like, you can have had so many people say really nice things to you all day. And then that one phrase or one comment, and it's like salt in the wound, and you're trying to shake it off, but you can't. It's just there in your mind, and you're like, why can I not just let this go? But they say, don't they? We do our brains go to the negative more than the positive. But again, as an entrepreneur, that is what you have to learn. You
Yeah, you're
have,
gonna
again, the whole emotional resilience, you have to learn, because here's the thing, like what I said earlier about if you've come from corporate, you have to let it go that making a mistake is all about learning. Not everything you do will go right. Look at Richard Branson, billionaire. And how many times have the media ripped him apart because he's gone off and done some project which has cost him stupid amounts of money and it flopped? And he takes it all in good stride because, let's face it, it's a good story. But he doesn't worry about it because Richard Branson is having to do this to evolve as a human being. He's got the money, so of course he's going to throw money at things. Um, but I want to say to everyone else out there, you've got to give things a go, because the only way you're going to learn is by actually doing it. If you're going to sit there and get your mind into 1,000 thoughts of should I, shouldn't I, do it. I always say this to clients. If you're not going to die and you're not going to kill someone, what have you to lose?
Yeah, just do it. That's a good
Yeah.
attitude. Do or die attitude. I had that. I had that do or die attitude. I'm going to make it to the top, or you're going to find me laying dead on the side of the mountain. You know what I mean? It's in us. We're the same kind
Yeah.
of person. But yeah, Richard Branson wouldn't be saying to himself like we do. I don't do it like I used to, but oh, you're not good enough, Jack. Oh, you're not smart enough. You can't figure this out. What are you trying to do? That inside terrorist. You know what I mean? We all have it.
Yeah.
We all have it. That's important to know going into the thing. Because you're gonna
Yeah.
have to deal with that. That doesn't just go away. It actually it increases
Yeah.
when you go that entrepreneurship route. Well, Melanie, I appreciate your time, and I'm happy
Thank
we were
you.
able to connect so easily.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a problem, and everything looked good. We didn't have any like times where you froze or I froze. And Whittaker, that's a cool name, Whittaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some great people with that name, Whittaker. I went to Brazil.
Roger Whittaker. There was
Yeah,
Roger Whittaker, wasn't there,
yeah,
the
yeah,
singer?
Roger Whittaker. Yep. There's a lot of great people in history. I'm pretty sure Whittaker's a good name. It's a lot of. I think there's royalty attached to Whittaker. I think you're really
Oh, I
connected.
don't know about that. I'm my own queen.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you got to do it, whatever it takes, right? They used to say, "Fake it till you make it." I kind of understood that back in the day because you did have to do it. But so listen, can we connect again maybe next year and pick up where we left
I
off
would
with?
love that.
Well,
Absolutely. And I want to say before we just finish this conversation, I'm glad that you said that about next year because being in the industry that I'm in, which is all about marketing, I am super excited about 2026.
yeah, me too.
Like, I know that marketing is shifting gears, the world is shifting and evolving and changing, and it's a very exciting time to be doing this. And I'm excited for a lot of people because the energy as well, the women I'm attracting and who are coming forward and wanting to work with me, they're of the attitude, I'm no longer going to be hiding in the shadows. This is my time to step forward and I want to help people. I want to create impact. I want to help people have better lives and I can just feel this energy all around me and it feels really exciting.
Yeah, women are the big deal in my business as well. And I love working with women. I think women are the great entrepreneurs. They're like probably the best entrepreneurs. Women are they got it down. They've got special gifts that the men just don't quite have. But yeah, this is a booming time for women, the time that we live in right now.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
is. It's
booming.
exciting.
Yeah. Do you have something you'd like to plug, something you can offer people or a website, or do you have something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
when we put this up on Spotify, we'll put that in the description to help you with what you're doing.
yeah, you can go onto my website, which is youareyourmarketing.com. And you will see a tab there which says freebie. And some people are just not sure what the difference is between marketing and public relations. So the freebie that I have, if they sign up for that, will give them all the information on the difference between the two things. And if they was to do public relations, how that would assist with the marketing they're already doing. And they can find me on Instagram with the same name, You Are Your Marketing, and on Threads, You Are Your Marketing. And you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under the name Melanie Whittaker. And I've got pink hair. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I live.
Oh, that's great. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and we will reconnect again. Happy holidays, and
And you have an
I'm jealous.
amazing Christmas.
We're in the Canary Islands. That's really awesome. God bless
Yeah, we're
you.
going to be Christmas Day. Everyone goes to the beach. I mean, why would you not? When you've left bad weather and you're in paradise, everyone goes. The beaches are packed on Christmas Day. It's so much fun.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. Thanks for the help. Appreciate you, Melanie. Bye bye.
Bye.